Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today on our latest WellVal podcast. And I'm delighted to be sharing the mic today with the wonderful Lisa Barnes. Lisa is a naturopathic nutritional therapist and health coach located in Oxford. And Lisa specializes in various areas. So, weight loss, metabolic and women's health, and healthy aging. We were interested to have a conversation with Lisa today because there's always a story behind what brings a practitioner onto their journey, doing what they're doing, and Lisa's story is also particularly interesting. So let's just dive in. Hello, Lisa. How are you?
Hi, Kate. Hello. I'm
Nice
good.
to see
Very
you.
good. Nice to
Good,
see you.
good, good. Thank you. So you have had a wide history, my background, and all very interesting. And it spans personal training, work with the NHS as a health coach,
Yeah.
and now naturopathic nutrition, which is very specific. We can dive into what that is. I know you studied a 3-year diploma at the College of Naturopathic Medicine,
Yeah.
and that's a big commitment as well. So just first off, what was the defining moment for you that made you decide that you wanted to pursue nutrition?
Thank you. I was working as a health coach. I've been working privately for a few years, and then I was so excited to join the NHS as one of their first ever health coaches. And it was a brilliant new initiative to get health coaches in and work within the NHS, sort of on the ground. And it was brilliant, and I loved it. But as the years went on, I think I worked for 2 or 3 years there. Um, I became frustrated with some of the referrals I was getting for a start, because I think the NHS is absolutely brilliant. I love the NHS, but a GP is very strapped for time, and my referrals were coming from GPs, and quite often it was sort of they'd offered somebody everything that they had, and I was the new kid on the block. So, nothing else had worked. So it was throw some health coaching at them. And I found it very frustrating that, I mean, 50% of my patients wouldn't turn up. It was that bad. So I was having fantastic results with some of the others and absolutely brilliant. 50% not turning up. And then some of them who were really engaging. And I just couldn't work out why it wasn't working. Exactly the same protocols we were offering to the people who it was working for, who we were having fantastic success with, reversing type 2 diabetes, polycystic ovary syndrome, all sorts of really positive outcomes. And then people who are just trying so hard and not getting anywhere. That all ran alongside losing, very sadly, my best friend, who was an absolute legend. And she was a yoga teacher. She loved life. She was super healthy, ate well. She partied well too. She was good fun. Um, but, it went from late August being on the beach with her in Menorca, messing around, snorkeling, to 2 weeks later, her dying of undiagnosed bowel disease, which just threw me completely. And I found it increasingly difficult to work with anybody who wasn't engaged in wanting to sort their health out. I found that at that stage, I just couldn't deal with somebody. And I get it. It's not that I don't understand why people, patients I was seeing had so much other things going on. But I found for a short amount of time there, my patients was really strapped at somebody who wouldn't turn up to an appointment or wouldn't engage with a protocol that could save their lives ultimately. Um, so I think one night when I was thinking, what on earth am I going to do? I was just doom scrolling and decided, I know I need to understand why the patients that I'm seeing who are not having results are not having results, and some are. What's going on? It must be the science I don't understand. And so I enrolled in this course that night. And I don't think it was till my first lecture, actually, when I sat there and we went through, they sort of said, so we're going to just recap your GCSE and A level. And I thought, I got a D at biology GCSE and I didn't do A level. I did A levels, but not in sciences. And I just thought, oh my goodness, what have I signed up for? But it was the most fascinating, rewarding, wonderful 3 years. I learned so much, but I think what ultimately I learned is that there's so much more to learn as well. Um, and I now am practicing as a naturopathic nutritional therapist using my health coaching, which I think just goes really well alongside it, to be honest, because you've got to look at behavior change as well. So that's a very long-winded explanation of how I got here.
I love it. And, can I just also really quickly ask you to define the difference between nutritional therapy and naturopathic nutritional therapy?
So naturopathic nutritional therapy looks very much at the fact that our bodies know how to heal themselves. We There's tools out there within your diet, within nature, that can very much help. And it's sort of very much looking at root causes and then building up your nutrition to support your body, as opposed to just a set diet that isn't completely tailored to you. When I see a client, I very much every single aspect is tailored to them and their experience because we are all so different.
Okay. I just to question that as well, like, because I suppose nutritional therapists, would some feel that they are still making it very bespoke to the person? Would you say, or is it the
Yes,
naturopathic element?
I mean, I think we use the terms, a nutritional therapist very much should these days be looking at nutrition in exactly the same way that a naturopathic nutritionist does. I think the difference is the dietitians, who historically have worked more alongside the NHS, and are possibly taught slightly differently, and not necessarily as personalized. But that would probably be for them to argue.
Well, I mean, they don't have the time, do they? If they're working alongside
No,
the NHS,
certainly not within the NHS, certainly not.
back to that.
And I think they're
Thing.
very much stuck with what they
Mm.
have to
Yeah.
prescribe as a diet rather than just scraping it right back to bare basics and starting again almost, which is quite often what I end up doing.
Wow. Okay. So, you were talking about how you work with people with type 2 diabetes and you've been able to reverse
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
And also PCOS.
PCOS, yeah.
And also, is it hypothyroidism?
Hypothyroidism, when your thyroid's not functioning as well.
Okay, so these are these health conditions that literally your work can help to reverse.
Yeah,
And that's
absolutely.
amazing. This is amazing. And this is the amazing power of eating the right foods that
Yeah.
work for us and our bodies.
Yeah, and I would say it's not always just eating them. Some people, for various reasons, may not be able to absorb some of the nutrients that they need. We all need such a huge variety of nutrients. And some people are eating a really well-balanced diet, but for whatever reason, they're not absorbing something properly. So it may be that we need to use some supplements as well. And alongside that, there's very much the lifestyle changes as well. Um, so, in particular, moving a bit more, socializing. It's these pillars of health which are just so important. And it's the bigger picture. It's look stress. If you're super stressed, however good your diet is, your body's not going to be functioning as well as it could be. So it is looking at the broader picture and not just the food, but everything should start with the gut and therefore food and what you're putting in the gut.
Okay, yeah, I know the gut. We were talking about the gut brain link
Oh
the other
yeah.
day.
Oh yeah.
Our gut being our second brain. So can you share an example of a transformation that you've seen within your own clinic that has stayed with you?
Oh gosh. Every time somebody changes something, it's actually the really little things which seem little, chronic constipation. If somebody's chronically constipated for years, and we're talking maybe 40 years plus, to be able to reverse that is just, and they might not have even come to me because they're chronically constipated. They might have just thought that's normal for them. And I don't think that's normal for anybody. So just reversing that so we can then look at what else is going on and why that happened in the first place is just, you know, I love the magic that happens then. I think you talked just now about the gut brain axis, and I had a really fabulous young man who was at school. Clearly, he self-diagnosed himself as ADHD, and I would say he's probably bang on right with that diagnosis, but desperate not to go down the medication route. And he came to me, and your typical older teenager, his diet was dreadful, his eating habits were dreadful, and the ADHD sort of fuels all that as well. And he really wasn't, he was struggling a little bit at school. Anyway, he is now sitting his A levels, which we just didn't think was going to be possible. And he has turned his life around by just being a little bit more aware. I know that what he's telling me, I'm pretty certain that he's not an absolute saint, but he's a lot better. And he's got the understanding of what his diet was doing and how his diet was linked to his behavior and his ADHD. And that was brilliant because
Yeah.
he came off his own back and he's a young man and
Wow.
yeah, really brilliant.
Wow.
Brilliant.
That's amazing. How old was he out of interest?
He was 18, so he'd just sat his A levels when he came to me and not
Okay.
been able to cope with them at all. So he's done another year and he's
Wow.
doing
Okay.
them now and says that they're going
Amazing.
well.
That's
So yeah,
amazing. That's an amazing
fabulous.
story. Yeah. Okay. Again, it's about food, the impact it has on our health, but also our mental well-being
Yeah,
as well, and
absolutely. Absolutely.
our
And
behavior.
I
And
look at teenagers, they're fighting a losing battle. They've just got so much advertising for junk. Um, and it's a really difficult decision. So to be mature enough to recognize you need some help is really such a
yeah,
credit to him as
yeah,
a
that's
young man.
amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. And that goes to show maybe, that's in a reflection of the changing appetite, mind the pun, appetite for, or just awareness of, health and empowerment. People feeling they can change things if they do look at things themselves, so that's lovely. Okay, so your approach is focusing on sort of finding root cause, which is obviously at WellVal a big part of what we love to do is not
Yep.
just deal with symptoms, but really dig down and find out what's causing those symptoms, which is something, again, doesn't always happen within the conventional system purely because they don't have time,
Yeah.
and they are dealing very much with symptoms, not always, but often. So, in practice, how does that differ? How does that differ from the dietary advice most people receive from their GP?
Well, a GP, brilliant as they are, the amount of knowledge you have to be a GP is incredible. But within 10 minutes, you can't possibly of a consultation, and probably you're not seeing the same GP every time. So within 10 minutes, you can't get to a root cause. There's no way, my initial consultations last at least an hour, and we build on those every time we meet. And, things can come up 6 months down the line that we go, eureka, there we go, that's what it was. And GPs just don't have that luxury these days. Um, and then you've got, and I really saw this when I was working within the NHS, every GP had different nutritional training. Some had very little at all, some have done some since, some follow certain diets. So the information that patients are getting is so conflicting. Sometimes you've got a GP who has not done any nutritional education for years and is still sort of saying, right, go and buy these low fat, low calorie diet bars and you'll be okay. So you see somebody like that. So a compliant patient goes off and does that, generally doesn't have a huge amount of success with getting their health back on track. The next time they see somebody, it might be somebody who's really up on type 2 diabetes and is absolutely adamant that you need to reduce your carbohydrate intake. And it's completely conflicting from what they were told 6 months ago by somebody else. So who are they meant to believe? How are they meant to move forward with this?
I
Um,
know.
that's where it's really
Yeah.
tricky. And that's where I think nutritional therapists, if you've had the training, whilst we all differ, we have all have different protocols, we are on the same page with quite a lot of it, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. And this is it, isn't it? And how can a GP be expected to know everything about food? There's no way that they can know everything. Would you say that, because obviously you've worked within the NHS as a coach, and I know that you were saying that obviously there was a frustration with people that wouldn't show up on the appointments. What else can the NHS actually do, in your view?
Oh, now you're getting into territory. Um, Gosh, I think one of the things which I see in my older clients is how many medications they're on that they've been on for a very long time. I would love to see when you hit even 50 that anybody on medication has to have an appointment with their GP and possibly a deprescribing. And every 10 years that should happen again. You know,
It shouldn't
somebody
happen every year.
well, it should ideally, but I my dad he's on lots of blood pressure pills, and we found out that he's on a blood pressure pill that they haven't actually prescribed new to somebody since the 90s, and it's known to deplete potassium. Of course, my dad had an episode where he was completely depleted in potassium, and it was a very scary episode for him. And then we're looking at how many different pills he's on. And even in the hospital, they're going, "Oh my goodness, are you still taking these?" It's too confusing for patients. And so I'd love to see some de-prescribing, but then I think all um, naturopathic practitioners would love to see a bit of de-prescribing. Um,
Yeah, I think that GPs are a bit, some of the GPs that I've been speaking to are very much on that track as well. They also see that as an issue.
I agree. And I think the behavior change in many cases needs to come from the patient who wants a pill and they want a quick fix. And that is something that I would say with nutritional therapy. It's rare, it's not never, but it's rare that you get that very quick fix. If you've got a headache, you can take a paracetamol, the headache will go. If you've got a headache and we're looking at why and we're trying to reduce the stress, the headache's not going to go immediately. But what we're looking to do is stop that headache ever starting again.
Yeah.
Um, so
Yeah.
it's sort of flipping the switch with patients more. I agree. A lot of GPs are now really on board with less prescriptions. But if they're getting it in the neck from their patients wanting a prescription, it's very difficult for them to say no. Um,
Mm. Yeah.
so I think it is an education, and I think that's what we need to help the NHS. We need
Yeah.
the education to start in schools.
Yeah.
Um, nutrition, they get nothing in schools. My children have all been through the local state school, lovely school, great school, but my son this in this last month has had to take in food to do his food tech, and they're making pizzas and they're taking in ready-made pizza bases and ready-made sauces. And you just think, why are we not teaching our children the benefits of good nutrition, but also how to cook properly? Children need to learn to cook.
I know. And do you know what? If we started talking about the education system, we would be
Yes,
here all day.
you're
It's
right.
such a
Sorry.
frustration. It's
But I
such a
think
frustration. This is
it
what we're up
links
against.
to the NHS because if we can educate the next generation, it's going to take pressure off the NHS.
Yeah, 100%. Agree. So yeah, we talk about that a lot. Especially within our tribes as well. Okay, so you're offering specific support for people who are taking the weight loss injections, the GLP-1.
GLP-1 and GIP, GIP as well. Um,
Okay.
so that's Ozempic, Wegovy, Manjaro. Those are the usual ones that they're taking.
Okay, and obviously that's just gone crazy. Everybody seems to be taking it.
Yeah.
It's a huge trend towards that doesn't seem to be showing any sign of abating. What you're obviously focusing on this in your clinic, and what are you seeing? What are you seeing in clinic?
So I think I'm not totally anti these medications at all. I think some of my clients are people who have really struggled with their weight for many, many years. It's impacting their health, their cardiovascular health, but actually more. more of what I'm seeing is their weight is affecting their joints. They're now unable to exercise. And I think for somebody like that, who really genuinely all their life has battled diets and exercise regimes and it hasn't worked, let's give it a go. That I think that's a risk worth taking. With, and this is the caveat, with huge amount of support. Because what I'm seeing is people coming through who maybe come to see me a year after they started taking them, and they've had huge amount of weight loss. And they're so proud of the amount of weight they've lost. And I agree, that's on the surface of it, brilliant, but I like to slow it right down. Don't jump to the maximum dose you can take as soon as you can. Keep it really slow because if you're losing weight that quickly, your body goes into crisis. You start hoarding fat. So the weight that you're losing is muscle mass or even worse, bone density. And so
Okay.
we're seeing people. I had a lovely lady the other day who was just saying, I went on this because my knees were hurting. I couldn't run anymore. Um, and so I thought I'd lose the weight. I've lost the weight, but I can't even run. I can't even walk now because my knees are hurting so much. Um, so I've seen people who are not doing it safely and sustainably. And on top of that, if you reduce the amount you're eating, regardless of how healthy your diet is, and a lot of them are not healthy, but regardless, you're reducing the amount of nutrients you're putting into your body. And we're seeing a huge amount of nutrient depletions.
Okay. Interesting. Yep. Yeah. Okay.
And I
How do
think
you
that's sorry.
how do you measure that?
Well, we can do testing for that. But actually, if somebody's coming to you saying they're very fatigued, um, their hair's
True.
falling out, a lot of the side effects that we talk about around the weight loss jabs, I believe, are much more connected to the nutrient depletions they're getting.
Interesting. Okay. I suppose because it's not been around. Oh, well, apparently it has been around a long time, but we just haven't really
Yeah,
been
it's
using
been
it.
around to treat diabetes.
True. Yeah.
So we do have data on it for diabetics. I think what horrifies me is how easy it is for people to get hold of it these days. And, I'm hearing, I haven't got any clients like this, but I'm hearing of kids who've had their first year at university put on a little bit of weight because they're now eating a student diet and drinking a student diet. Um, and their first go-to is the weight loss jab. And I think that is irresponsible. These jabs, we're not seeing huge success when people come off them, um, which is twofold. One, therefore, are you thinking if you're going on them age 19, 20, that you're going to be on them for life? Because we do not have
Mm.
data on that.
Yeah. True.
That
Yeah.
is a
Mm.
big risk, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and secondly, if you are going on them, you need such good support. And these online pharmacists are box ticking. They have to now give a bit of nutritional support, but it's very generic. My ideal is to get a client just before they go on them, and I won't tell them not to go on them unless they're obviously underweight and shouldn't be on them at all. But then ideally we'll do some testing. We'll see how their liver's functioning, how their kidneys are functioning. We'll assess whether they're already depleted in any nutrients. We'll look at their blood sugar levels and things like that. So we've got a baseline so we know what to look out for, what we need to support. And then I will urge them to do it as slowly as they can. Don't get caught up in these hypes, the Facebook groups of how many kilos you've lost that week. It needs to be slow and sustainable.
Yeah, and I think what that. I mean, you feel like that's not rocket science, isn't it? There's no such thing as a free lunch, right? There's nothing. There's no such thing as something for nothing.
No.
That's how I've been brought up. I think that's how it's just how it feels like the world works. If you. I mean, I know that in your case, you are seeing people that put in and they don't get out. Their bodies aren't able to, and
Mhm.
they do a lot of work for not much return, and that is true. But I think it's just that sustainability, isn't it? Unless people are going to stay on it forever,
Yeah, which
then
the prices are coming down, but it's a big investment, not just in your health, and also actually in your social. I think we do talk about it being an easy way out. And I think there's a lot of stigma around this. it is not an easy way out. The side effects are real for a lot of people, not for everybody, but they are real. And the effects on your social life, we eat socially. We
True.
that
True.
that's part of our
Mm,
community. And if
yeah.
you take that away from people, and you don't have to take it away, by the way, um, but people sometimes need some support of how to keep that in, because what we don't want to see is somebody not taking their medications for a week because they know that they're going on holiday or something, and then going back to them and sort of yo-yoing. Then we're getting into a different situation again.
Yeah, wow. I mean, there's so many layers to this conversation as well, isn't there? Just how to do it, how to do it well, how to do it safely, sustainably.
I genuinely think you need support,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
as the medications are coming down in price, that's when you can maybe put some of the money towards
yeah,
a one-to-one with somebody, or group settings. Lots of people offer sort of group settings, but make sure you know what you're really doing, and do not get caught up in these competitive um, support groups, which is all about how much you've lost that week, because that is not sustainable. It's
no,
really not.
okay, no, okay. Is that something that you do offer at the moment? Group
I do
setting?
offer groups. Yeah.
Okay, that's
I
really
sort of,
interesting.
yeah,
Yeah,
I offer a group webinar to start with.
okay,
Then I like to have one, because it's all very personalized. So if I've done a group webinar, I still like to see everybody one to one to get
yeah,
their base, where they are, what they're feeling, what
yeah,
their symptoms are.
yeah,
Because no group, as I'm doing the webinar, I'm going, some of you will find this, some of you won't.
yeah,
So
yeah, sure.
I still want to do the one to one, but then using the group as support for each other is really, really
Nice.
useful.
Really
Yeah.
nice. Nice. Lovely. Okay. What kind of age group are you seeing? Is it really varied?
Most of my weight loss jab clients are sort of perimenopausal, menopausal women at the
Okay.
moment.
Interesting. And obviously that's an area that you specialize in
Yeah, and it
anyway.
all links. It definitely
Yeah.
all links.
Yeah.
You've got to bear
Yeah.
all that in mind as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So you are a busy mum as well, of three.
Three, but I am less busy now. Two of them are pretty self-sufficient these days.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you might also find time struggle. You might struggle to find time to properly meal prep.
Yeah.
And be that
Yeah.
Nigella in the kitchen.
Yeah.
How do you practice what you preach in your life?
I am very lucky in two ways. One, all my children can cook, so we take it in turns. I mean, I do the majority, but certainly at the weekends, my children and my husband all cooks, and they cook healthily. They cook from scratch.
And would
The
you say
second,
that is an education from you?
yes,
Okay.
yes. As a family, we've done it as a family.
Yeah.
And it's not always perfect. It's a long way off perfect. And I think, especially when you've got teenagers, you just have to go with it. The food that I buy, that I put in the fridge, is 95% what I'd like them to eat. There's definitely
Yeah.
a 5% there that is there just because otherwise they won't love me at all. Um, then what they do in their own time, I know my 14-year-old goes into these horrible fried chicken shops. I can't do anything about it. And if I do, then I'm alienating him from his friends. So I just have to suck it up. I did worse when I was his age. It's really fine, as long as it's not the norm.
Yeah.
My second big tip, and I don't sell them, but I just love my Thermomix. I don't know if you know what a Thermomix is.
No.
Oh my goodness. Well, I should sell them because I just love them so much. It's basically, it cooks your meals for you. It's an integrated mixer, blender, heater, slow cooker, steamer, and it's got recipes in it built in as well. I don't know how it works. It's all very
Wow.
technical,
I'm
but
going
it
to
is
look into that.
fabulous. It is
Oh,
fabulous, and it's very powerful as well. So, for example, if I make my own bone broth, I cook down the bones. I can do it in there, but that's sort of 48 hours, and I use it way too often to give it up. So I cook down the bones in the oven for 48 hours, and then I chuck the whole lot in my Thermomix, which is ready to go, and makes bone broth within 1 minute, just all the bones, everything. And it's so full of goodness. Yeah, so I love my Thermomix, and that it, if I look in the fridge and I can only see that I've got half a chicken breast and broccoli, and kids are bored of me doing chicken and broccoli, it will come up with a really nice recipe. If I put the ingredients in, it'll spit out a load of different recipes. So
Interesting. Oh,
it's great.
I'm so gonna look into that.
Go and have a look into
Yeah, we've
it.
got a few chefs in our house as well, actually, but you can never have too many gadgets to help you along the way. Okay,
Well,
so
the good thing with this is you'll get rid of most of your gadgets. You then
okay,
won't need your Magimix or your steamer. You don't even need your kettle because it can boil.
wow,
Yeah, you won't need your slow cooker.
wow,
Yeah, no, it's very.
wow. You should definitely start selling them.
I know.
I'm
They have
sold.
told me I need to do it, but I don't. I don't really. Yeah, not me.
No, not you. No, you're busy. You're busy doing your thing. Okay, so you work with individuals. You also work with corporate clients as well.
Yeah.
Um, and what do you think employers
Hmm.
tend to misunderstand about the link between employee nutrition and workplace performance?
Well, I'd say the companies that I work with are really invested. Good on them. They've got a nutritional therapist to come in. They're not missing anything except that they don't know what to do. They are on it. But I think, I don't think a lot of workplaces actually think about nutrition. You
Mm,
might have, depending where you are, you might have a sandwich man that comes around. Well, that's no good for anybody. What
yeah,
I try to do is try to get the companies to maybe eat together once a week. Bring your own food, but eat together, so that we're addressing the community side of it as well, the stress, and also having the facilities for somebody to be able to, at the very least, heat up safely something that they've brought from home, so that they're not reliant. So many places are reliant on whatever they can get. It tends to be high carb, highly processed
yeah,
food, which
mm,
is very difficult to get
yeah,
out of the habit of eating. NHS is the worst possible one for it.
yeah, yeah. I love that idea of bringing everyone together once a week. That in companies where that's possible. That's really
Where it's
lovely.
possible. Yeah,
What
I
a
think
lovely idea.
yeah, I think it's growing. Lots and lots of companies are investing in a nice big long table where they can all sit down. And it's across the hierarchy as well. So, you'll get my daughter's company do it. She works for a science lab. And once a week they all sit down together, and she might be sitting down next to the big boss that's started the company up 50 years ago, and he's asking her about her life. And I just think it must be good for business as well
Yeah.
as for health.
It's almost like team building.
Exactly.
Just
Yeah,
eating together. I
exactly.
mean, who needs to go and do big, activities when you can just sit and eat together once a week?
Yeah, and they occasionally do a bring and share as well, so everybody brings something.
That's really, really
Yeah,
nice.
yeah, I think
Okay,
that's
well,
lovely.
so is that this? I think what's been interesting, for me here is just hearing your journey, hearing your journey working with the NHS as well. That doesn't really surprise me, and also the fact that you kind of moved into, I suppose, private work, really, if you like, because you're then working with people who are just generally more invested. Um,
I think it's slightly unfair because definitely plenty of NHS patients are very, very invested. And I think this is where the power of WellVal is. And I've got a meeting next week with the social prescribers team in Oxford, because I think we've got a lot of information that we can freely impart on NHS patients. So that's what I like to share what we can with the NHS so we can work together collaboratively.
I
And I do
completely
see
agree. Yeah.
NHS engaging more and more in that sort of thing.
Yeah, they are. And actually, over here in Buckinghamshire, I was speaking with the health. She is a health coach also at the NHS, funnily enough. And we have been supporting their pain cafe once a month with sending practitioners in to talk about ways that people can learn about new ways that they can support themselves outside just medication. Some obviously need to medications, but some they're not. Then it's not necessarily curing their problem, they're fixing their problem.
It
And
would
then
be
you should,
nice if it was the lifestyle and nutrition first,
yeah, I know.
medicines after.
Exactly. And so we will be supporting their weight loss cafe as well in Buckinghamshire, I think
Ooh,
once a month from September. So that's another step forward that we're making with the NHS as well, because I think that they see that we need to be working together as well. That
fabulous.
we are two sides of the same coin at the end of the day. So that has been really encouraging. So, and you're going to come on one of those, aren't you? You're going to
I
come and
am,
meet our NHS
absolutely.
people over here. Okay, well, thank you, Lisa, for sharing your background and your experience. And just one last question: like, where would you like to see your work going? What is your big why?
Every time I have success with a client, I've ticked a big box. I love that. But ultimately, in a few years' time, I'd really like to be in schools, um, helping, not as my main business, but getting in there, helping to educate the next generation. So that, I mean, wouldn't it be great if they don't need nutritional therapists like me in 20 years' time?
It doesn't feel like it's rocket science. That's what's
No,
really
it's
strange.
really not.
Why can they not make room for this really, really like vitally important, basic, fundamental stuff, that is just could be literally, transformative. Yeah. Well, that's a
It was
really good.
I was listening to a podcast the other day and I can't remember which one it was, but it was about schools in Japan. And oh my goodness, there is no obesity in children in Japan. Every single
Wow.
school has a nutritional therapist
Wow.
attached to them. Every
Wow.
day, the children sit down and eat together through secondary school. They sit down, they have the meal that's provided for them, which is a balanced meal, and there is no obesity.
Wow, that is crazy. And actually, that's where they've got the
That's,
record number of centenarians. Is it centenarians? How do you say
yeah,
it? Centenarians.
yeah, from those blue zone.
Yeah, from the blue zones is Japan as well. Well, Lisa, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
There are
you.
going to be lots of different topics that we are going to be focusing on, I'm sure, around not just food, but all the angles that we can take around that. So we will be speaking to you again here.
Amazing.
And thank you for those who have joined us or are watching this. Yeah. If people want to find you, they can find you at wellval.com
Yes.
/practitioners /Lisa hyphen Barnes. I'll put this in the notes for people that are looking for you. And yeah, just a recap, Seed at Wellval is our growing team of practitioners who we are working with directly to provide expert content out and put it out there, from a place where we know that everybody is informed and qualified. And we're kind of singing off the same hymn sheet, because I suppose, as you said earlier, there's so much conflicting information out there. It's just important that, that we are all kind of coming from the same place in terms of our approach to these things. So yeah, Seed at Wellval is where you'll find your experts who are kind of basically on the same page, is really what I'm trying to say. So if you have any generic inquiries, then you can email into info@wellval.com and we will filter your inquiry out to the appropriate practitioner. So thank you again for joining us, and we will see you soon.